Well, I can give a quick update on that. We are in the process right now. We have FEMA on the ground helping us to conduct that, but we have a team of building inspectors throughout the entire affected area doing evaluations on buildings. We are hopeful to wrap that up by the end of the 25th. So just a couple days from now. We've been on the ground for days now, and we are working really hard to get that evaluation conducted and completed as soon as possible.
Governor, when are we going to see some federal relief? What do you have to say to the people in this area of North St. Louis who've lost everything in this tornado?
Well, I would say to the people is that Senator Schmidt said it best. There's no blue or red jerseys on this disaster. Everybody's working together with a federal delegation. You got your state senator, state representative here. We're here. This is the neighborhood I grew up in. I've talked to the president. I've talked to Kristi Noem. Both of our senators, and Josh Hawley and Eric Schmidt, have written letters of support for immediate assistance relief. And as the mayor said, we're just wrapping up the individual assistance assessments today. That's probably the earliest that's been done in a long time for a disaster of this size. I would note today is the anniversary of the Joplin tornado as well as the Jefferson City tornado on May 22nd. And FEMA has come out and said this is the largest residential destruction since the Joplin tornado. So it's not a historic moniker that you want to have, but it just goes to show what the destruction is. And I know our federal partners working along with the mayor and her team who have been fantastic. Working with our state delegation, all of us are working together to make sure we get the resources here as quick as we can.
When do you expect this emergency declaration maybe to come out?
Well, the short-term one we've asked for to happen right away. The long-term one just takes a little bit longer. It has nothing. It's every administration is the same. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get there. But what the great news is these we call them NGOs, non-government organizations, have really stepped up. You're seeing it across the street where they're taking resources from the private sector along with not-for-profit agencies who are making sure that they're more in touch with what's happening in the neighborhood and they can deploy their resources better. Look, government doesn't do a lot of things good all the time, and so having these private sector and these not-for-profit organizations involved, I think, is a big plus to the area.
Are you worried the Trump administration won't grant a major disaster declaration like they did in Arkansas?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel really good about the existing requests that we have in. Those are far, as you recall, the mid-March storms as well as the April storm. So we've already had that brewing in D.C. and I feel good in talking to the president and to our two senators that we'll get some good news on those pretty soon, and then we'll be following up with this. And as I told the president on the phone the other day, it's unbelievable that we've had this many storms in this state this close together, and just, you know, it's tragic. But I will tell you, as a North St. Louis City born and raised resident, this is a great opportunity with the mayor's leadership, with your state senator and representatives' leadership. This could be the catalyst that really brings St. Louis back to that incredible city we all know it can be. And I don't want to discount the tragedy and the really tough times people are going through. But I'm optimistic that you're going to see some incredible things happen in this area.
Any update on if the National Guard's going to come? Is there any mission for them here that you can
Yeah,
tell?
we've had a National Guard person embedded with the mayor's team and various people working with emergency management here to see if there is a role for them. And I know that their assessment continues with that.
Do you think there is a role for the National Guard, Mayor?
We are hopeful, as the governor pointed out. I mean, they've been part of this on-the-ground operation for a couple days now, and we're looking at options, and certainly are hopeful that we can make something work on that front.
Would one of them be like debris removal or things of that nature?
Yeah, you got to remember the Guard has a specific mission in defense for our citizens and for our country. So we don't want to take them out of that mission, but there are definitely organizations who can help with debris removal outside of the Guard. So trying to make sure we pool those resources. I know Ameren at one point in time had over 500 debris removal personnel working on debris removal. By the way, they've, in my opinion, have done a great job going. I think when we were together Saturday, it was 90,000 homes. This morning, it was 9,000. So they work with electric cooperatives, other investor-owned utilities from around the state to bringing those back together. So really, when you have something this size with this many structures that are affected, it's a combination of everything together that really makes it work. And again, the city and their leadership have done a very good job of being a clearinghouse to make sure everybody that has the resources can get them deployed in the areas that's needed the most.
What about all of the people who live here on the north side and they don't have insurance? They've been in these homes for their entire life. and now they're not sure how they're going to move forward.
That's been such a heartbreaking component of this. Those assessments are preliminary right now, but it does look like a very, very large percentage of our residents up here are uninsured or underinsured. And that's going to be a very, very, very tricky component here, and an important one to make sure that we can keep those folks here housed for the long term. And we're looking at doing everything we can to make sure that happens.
What about using other money, ARPA money, the RAMS money? Are there other funds out there to tap into?
We've already started that process here in the city, looking at the ARPA funds in particular. We did an assessment of the housing funds that we had already put in place, pivoting those that we can to be specifically targeted to the tornado rebuild.
What are some things the state can do, Governor, at this point that maybe we haven't discussed or talked about that you're hoping to bring to these residents here?
Well, obviously the first thing was our State Emergency Management Agency moving in quickly and trying to help the city with their resources. We've got some things we're kicking around. We'll be working with our elected officials on some issues we think could be helpful. And it's a little bit too early to unveil those plans, but they'll happen very quickly, not months, but I'm talking about days or weeks. And we're looking at what the things are that, again, can impact these folks. As the mayor said, uninsured or underinsured is a large number. And remember, these are the residents who have been the anchors. These are the people who didn't leave, who didn't let their home decay, who have been here for maybe 40, 50, 60 years. We need to make sure that spirit of this neighborhood stays here, because those are the same people that are going to be encouraging the rebuilding, encouraging people moving back into the area. So I think you'll be hearing proposals from us very soon.
Mayor, quick question on the emergency management budget. A couple weeks ago, Commissioner Russell kind of sounded the alarm at the Board of Aldermen hearing, saying we're pretty underfunded when you compare the emergency management to other cities compared to St. Louis. Is there any effort now, especially after everything that happened, to try to add more money into that fund?
That is a question for the future, and it's absolutely apparent from day one that we were underfunded, understaffed, under-resourced here, and that's why the mayor's office came in and pretty much brute forced an emergency management response here because of the lack of a real emergency system that was clear, from the sirens to a whole host of other things. I am incredibly grateful for the state of Missouri. Not just the governor showed up first thing Saturday morning. This is his second time, not only in St. Louis here after the tornado, but the second time here in the Ville, to really help assess what the damage was and to really mobilize some of the folks at the emergency management level at the state level here to really help establish and build the emergency response team that we have today, that we need to get through the next few days and the next few months, years as we move ahead.
I would also add, just to anybody watching and to the residents of the area, thank your first responders. The policemen and firemen, EMS workers have worked double, triple shifts. Some haven't gone to bed yet. They've been incredible in this area, and kudos to both the fire chief and the police chief, for Dennis and Chief Tracy, Dennis Jenkerson. They've really done a good job rallying around, but it takes leadership. And when you see the commitment to the mayor, this woman hasn't slept in 5 days. I'm pretty convinced of that. And she's done great, but she's got a great team around her, and it's been very evident in this disaster.
How hard was it to see the place you grew up in such a bad shape after this terrible
It was really
disaster?
hard for me to walk in the tap room. When I was a kid, I obviously wasn't going in there, just for the record, but it's a landmark here. You're seeing another landmark right behind us. The murals they're putting up all around the Ville. It's really tough to see, to answer your question. But as I told the mayor, unfortunately, we've seen a few disasters this year around the state and in previous years. And every time you see tragedy, you also see Missouri greatness. You see people coming out of the wood. When we were here at 10 o'clock, maybe on Saturday morning, there was a car driving around with the back hatch open up, just seeing, does anybody need water? Does anybody need help? I mean, it's just amazing what you see St. Louisans come out to be really what St. Louis is about. And as we approach the 100-year anniversary of Charles Lindbergh's famous flight, the spirit of St. Louis is alive and well. And that happened on May 21st. Yesterday was the 98th year from that flight. So the spirit of St. Louis is alive and well.
The question I keep getting is, how much longer are we going to have to wait for federal assistance? And that's from the citizens, you know, and it's like, we try to tell them what we hear, but we keep getting that question.
Look, it's unfortunate in these situations that you almost can't respond fast enough with some of that assistance. But as I mentioned earlier, between your state senator representatives and your fellow delegation, the mayor, other community leaders, whatever it takes to continue to keep pressure on. You heard Senator Hawley questioning people yesterday at a hearing about this. I talked to Senator Hawley again last night. I've talked to Eric Schmidt almost every day. I talked to Wesley Bell this morning. I've never seen this kind of concentrated effort to make sure whatever that response timing is, we do it faster.
Thank you
you.
guys for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.